me? Go ahead. Thank you.
Do you hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
Okay, cool. So Florida obviously has a super powerful SEC defense that every SEC team holds. How have y'all been preparing for that? Because the size difference between their defense and y'all's offense is very obvious.
Yeah. Yes, it is. I think you hit the nail on the head when it comes to physical stature on them. And I'll tell you what, they've done a good job. So I'll credit this coaching staff is they've done a great job of letting these kids play fast. You know, if you look at last year's defensive clips, I was looking on the offseason just kind of personnel-wise before the season played, just kind of looked at every opponent. And, you know, the biggest noticeable between this year and last year is that these guys are playing hard on defense every snap and playing fast. And when you do that, you play up to your potential, you know. And so, you know, they're very close to being 2-0. They're very, very close to being 2-0. As you know, and every game has been kind of low scoring too. So it's a big challenge for us, you know. And so what we've got to do is say, okay, all right, where are they? Where do you have a chance to, based on the structure, what they do in the personnel, where do you have a chance to maybe get the angles that you need, where the opportunities where you have one-on-ones that, hey, we got a chance here to win our one-on-ones, whether it's a block, a pass, one-on-one on the receiver, DB, whatever it may be. And so we got to take advantage of those, you know, and we got to try to scheme those up and go out there and just do one play at a time. You know, one play at a time, go out there and try to put one first down, a second down, convert a third down, and try to get the first down, keep rolling. So that's the number one thing that we got to try to accomplish. But yes, they are a formidable defense. They do a great job. Their staff is, you know, second to none when it comes to defensive scheme. You know, they were great at before at Lafayette. So it's a game that we've got to be on our P's and Q's and be creative to try to, you know, get the ball down the field.
And my follow-up question for you is that I know y'all have been practicing with the background sound because the swamp is super loud. You have a lot of guys that are stepping into roles that they're not used to with injuries coming in and out. How do you prepare their mindset for a game like that they haven't been a part of before?
Number one thing you tell them, like, this is everything that you want to play in. All right, this is why you play college football. This is the environment you want to play in. This is why you play the game. These are the games that you play. That, like, you have to be like chomping at the bit to play these games because you know it's a competitive environment. You know you've got a great opponent. And at the end of the day, like, just this is why you play the game. You know, these are games why you play it. So for us, those guys, yes, we've been pumping in a lot of crowd noise and try to put them in those situations where they can't hear. So we got to be really good with our communication in a short window. We got to be really good at seeing our communication from the sidelines and getting lined up and make sure, again, once that ball's snapped, you just go play and you go attack. That's the number one thing. And so it's been a week where, again, I think we try to do some different. The crowd noise being pumped in there at first. That first day we did on Tuesday, kind of, I don't want to say shook them a little bit, but it was kind of like, okay, you know, it's a little different for them. And so, but now today they handled it much better.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's it for me.
Sure. Thank you.
Second, Coach, we got a couple people joining late here. Waiting for them to get on board here. Joey, can you hear us? You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Okay.
Good. JJ, who is JJ? Is that JJ Garrett?
Yes, sir, it is. Hey, Brian.
Go ahead, JJ.
Hey, Coach Trickett, how's it going?
Good, man.
Hey, just wanted to congratulate you on the win. And how did you feel after watching the film of how y'all did? Of course, you put up a number of points, but overall, how the offense do from your perspective?
Sure. No, absolutely. No, I got you. So, like, at the end, starting off the game, we wanted to go downfield a little bit. We missed that opportunity, first play of the game. Again, if we have a contested ball, we've got to come down with the contested ball. Either that or not let the DB win the one-on-one on that one. But we wanted to be aggressive this game, and we pushed the ball. We tried to push the ball downfield. You know, again, they did some good stuff early on. Within the first two drives, you kind of had an idea. I say the first two drives because the first drive was one play. The second drive, after your second drive, where we actually kind of put together some plays together, you kind of saw how they wanted to play, which was a little bit different. They wanted to change our fit in the box and try to they were really aggressive against the run. They were trying to get 7 to 8 guys starting off in the high shell and getting down low, try to like get the ball to hit a certain place and have a guy sitting right there for you. So they were asking you to throw the ball deep. They were asking you, all right, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to get these guys outnumber the box. You got to go past us with the ball. So we had some opportunities and we didn't connect, quite frankly, at the end of the day. That's the number one thing is we got to be better at that. That's details. That's understanding the angles guys are running on and seeing that ball or seeing that angle and letting the ball go. And then when the ball's near us, we got to make a play on it. So it's a variety of things, when it comes to that. But when it came to running the football, we did a good job. After that first series, kind of got an idea how they wanted to play us. And so we complemented our run game to that and had some success. And but again, early on, they were just really trying to get that 7th and 8th guy down there to try to they were going to make you throw the ball, which again, and if we connect on a couple of those passes, we're sitting at a lot different situation at halftime than what we were. But we didn't. So again, that goes back to then on third down, you got to convert your third downs, and we got to throw and catch, do those things there. So that's where at the end of the day, we left a lot of money on the field, and our guys know that. So we got to make sure we come out and this week and refine those points and try to make sure hey, if this technique was wrong, we can't do this again. You got to make sure this is how you do it. And that'll be a lesson to learn from that game. But it was good for some guys to have success. Some guys get out there and play a little bit, but it wasn't to the standard of what we wanted. But again, like you said, when you get a win, we celebrate a win.
Yes, sir. And then going into Florida, of course, they bring a ton of challenges. But what is, as an identity, what's your identity going into this week?
Well, I don't necessarily want to tell Florida just quite yet, but they're really talented. Like I mentioned earlier, they're very talented. They got some draft picks up front. Their linebackers are good. Secondary wise, they're very physical and they do a good job of playing. They're what you would expect a Florida defense to look like. And like I told earlier, they're playing much harder this year. That's the one thing you see is they're playing aggressive, fast, and hard on defense. Where this past summer I watched them something last year. They're a much better team right now, and I give all their players and coaches credits for this what they've done because they've come out here and they're playing hard. So what we got to do is we got to make sure that we give our guys a chance to make plays structurally. All right, so whatever they do, be it angles, numbers, grass, whatever it may be, to get our guys out there in space, let them again be better. And at the end of the day, we got to go out there and go and win whatever one-on-one matchups we get. So we got to make a block on perimeter. We got to make a block. We got to make a block in the box. Got to make a block. We got to break a tackle, be the guy one-on-one in space. We got to win those. That's what it's going to come down to. And but like I said, our guys are up for the challenge. All right.
Thank you, Coach.
Haggerty.
Coach, is this a game you want to play a little slower to shorten it?
No, I'm kidding. You're not wrong. Let's put it this way. What did Howard do? When you look at the possessions and time of possession, Howard was on the field for a long time, right? And converted third downs, did a really good job on that. And when you look up, our play count on offense in this last game was 58 plays, I think it was, or something like that. Not many plays. A lot of yards and all that kind of stuff, but not many plays. So yeah, that's a good thought. So our identity is you want to. I think the number one thing offensively nowadays is you want to change the tempo and control the tempo. So whether it's taking your time, fast, slow, fast, slow, whatever it may be on those kind of things, doing those things to keep them all based a little bit is to your advantage. But these are the games where the shorter the game, the usually, because again, at the end of the day, the longer you're out there on the field, if there is a talent gap, those things show up in any game, in any league, right? That shows up. And sometimes, it may be over a period of time. It could be a month or 2 months or whatever it may be. But this game is going to be a game where we got to go out there and whatever we call, we got to go out there and execute. And, but yeah, this game is one that when we have a possession, we got to maximize it. We have to maximize it because, I know that on their side of the ball, they got, me and Rob Sell were together at Alabama, and we actually lived together for a quick minute when we were just first moved down there. He played for my dad for a year, and I know Rob as an offensive line guy. He wants to pound the rock on their side of the ball. So when you have the ball, you got to maximize your at bats. You got to stay on the field. You got to convert on third down. You got to convert in the red zone. And when you get your at bats, you got to make them count. And that's what you got a lot of these teams. Everyone talks about those upsets and all that kind of stuff that happen across college football. They're usually those kind of games. Unless it's North Carolina App State where it's in the 60s.
Coach, quick follow-up on that. If it gets to halftime and it's 21-17, I don't care who's got the lead. That's advantage South Florida, isn't it?
Hey, so I've been on the other side of these games, right? Or I've been on both sides. And the one thing being on like the Howard game, like when I coached at Sanford, the one thing that we always want to do is, and I'm not saying this is that, but it's, they're really good. All right, they're a really good team. The one thing that we always said is we want to get the game to the fourth quarter. You get the game, if you make it, if it's competitive in the fourth quarter, then you got a chance to make it happen, right? And that's every game, obviously. You want to do that in every game. But when we were at Sanford, we did that. I know we played Arkansas in 2013, and we were like 30-point dogs or something like that. And then next thing you know, you look up, it's 21-17. We're up in the fourth, playing Arkansas with Sanford. And so then all of a sudden it's a game, Now we ended up losing, I think, 31-21. But long story short is, like, at the end of the day, like we got to make sure the game's close. All right, if we just take advantage of our opportunities, like how it's going to work out, it's going to work out. We just got to take care of us on offense and maximize our opportunities.
Joey Johnson.
Coach, through two games, how do you think your offensive line has played, and how important is it to rely on their experience against Florida, not only with the quality of team you're playing, but with the environment you're playing in?
Yeah, I thought we, in some points, I think we got a couple of bright spots. I think Trey Jacobs is playing really well at a high level. I think he's playing good football right now. Dustin Hall, Mike Lawton battling out right guard, but we need both of them. They both complement each other really well. Brad Cecil is playing like just Brad Cecil football, man. He's solid, steady Eddie. Mike calls, all that kind of stuff. He's really good with all those things. Meach is Meach is such a strong start. And Donna's one that's got all the ability in the world. Is getting to be a really good player. And there's flashes, but there's also times where he's got to be a little bit more consistent. Overall, like I said, we've been solid, but we're probably not where we need to be just quite yet. And I think Coach Mo would be the first one to tell you that. But the communication, the trust level there is extremely high. It's extremely high. Like they communicate very well together. They know each other inside and out. And that's a very close room. So when you have that, you have a chance up front.
And one other thing, Jimmy Horn, he had a flash play on an end around. He returned a kickoff for touchdown. Obviously, it looks like a guy that anytime he touches it, there's a chance. So are you constantly trying to create opportunities for a guy like that, and just almost like a kid with a toy, just trying to figure out how to play with him or how to best use him?
Oh yeah, no, you try to be as creative as you can be, and get him touches that are guaranteed touches. And sometimes, like, he's got great speed, so you got to push the ball downfield. And we had him we've had him in the last two games, 1, 2, 3 times down the field where I thought the plays probably could have been touchdowns. You know what I mean? That we just got to connect, whether the ball was good and we didn't catch it, or whether we got to get a little bit better ball. So, but we're doing a lot of stuff to get him touches immediately. And, he's a weapon that you want to take advantage of. So, like, you don't want to ever go into after a game, look down, like, oh man, he didn't touch it. Not enough. Or at least call targets. You didn't call enough targets. Then you just got to live with however they play you on defense. But no, he's a special young man. He's going to be a gret player. He's a lot to improve on still, but he's got a chance to be really, really good. So, but yeah, he's a guy that you got to try to create touches for 100%.
Thanks, Coach.
You're on mute.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Coach. We'll get Coach Shoop in.
Sure, no problem. Thank y'all.
All right, we'll take questions for Coach Shoop. Joey, you want to go ahead and start us off?
Yeah. Coach, you got some sacks, you got some TFLs last week. Are you pleased with how you're progressing in terms of creating havoc, as you say, and getting in that backfield?
Yeah, last week was better. I think we had 11 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. After 2 weeks, we have 18 tackles for loss, which is in the top 15 in the country, and 4 sacks. Every game is a little bit different, and that's our expectation. I called it our style of play. BYU was as far from our style play as it could have been, and Howard was a little nearer to our style play. And I thought, we got tackles for loss from every level and sacks from every level too, from linebackers, from DBs, from defensive front guys. So that's good. And I think the guys had some fun, and really for, most of the game, I thought we played fairly well on defense, fairly clean. It was a little better product than the week before for sure.
And one more thing, if I could, through the first 2 weeks, you've played some pretty good quarterbacks, Jaron Hall and Quentin Williams from Howard. Now you get a look at Anthony Richardson, who certainly has impressed us in flashes of the past 2 years. How do you evaluate this guy and what you got to do to neutralize him?
Yeah, he's a really kind of a unique athlete, a little bit of a unicorn. He's so big, he's so strong. He throws the ball. He can throw it deep very, very well. He can make every throw. He's got such a quick release, and his greatest asset may be his feet. He's a very, very big guy to tackle. Last year I know he had some big runs against us. He had 100 yards rushing in the first game, including a scramble, I think, that went 50 yards for a touchdown. So, he's certainly a classic dual threat quarterback. His physical appearance is that of a defensive end for certain. And he's really big, strong, fast. And I'm sure Coach Napier is very excited to work with him. And, it's going to be a great challenge for our guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Will Turner.
Good morning, Coach. Following up on Richardson, obviously very efficient passing the ball in game 1. I think 70-ish% completion percentage, not as good in game 2. Is making him a one-dimensional quarterback, because Kentucky was very good against his legs. Is making him a one-dimensional quarterback the key?
Yeah, if you can do that. I mean, he, Coach brought that up. I mean, he's not the only weapon that they've got. They've got outstanding receivers that are really big and fast. They've got good backs, and they've got a good offensive line. So making him one-dimensional is easier said than done. I mean, you can load up the box to stop the run, and then just anything in the quarterback run game can neutralize some of that. In a pass game on third down, maybe you do want to make him be a quarterback, if you will, not allow him to, he can make so many plays with his feet. Maybe you want to make him sit back there, recognize coverage, and do things like that. Where if he's sitting in the pocket, he's not a whole lot different than other people. It's whenever he gets out on the perimeter, or he breaks tackles and things like that. And a lot of his big plays on third down and critical in the red area are off scrambles and things like this. Play against Utah, where they have a nice blitz off the edge and he spins around, which would be incredible for a smaller person, but for a person his size, incredible. And he throws the ball in the back of the corner for a 2-point conversion. So he's really a unique athlete, and it's a great opportunity for us, as a coaching staff, and a great opportunity for us as players to go out and compete against someone like that.
And then my second one and my last one today, obviously your secondary depth has taken some hits with injuries, some guys being out. Just how would you evaluate some of the guys that stepped up behind them in Ray Thornton? I know TJ Robinson went down back to corner, and especially a guy like Jaden Curry, who, really stepped up into that role last week.
Yeah. Again, we had some injuries, but that's part of the game. And you have to have nothing more than an X man mentality. I always say if no individual is bigger than the team, or you wouldn't have a very good team. And Curry certainly stepped up at the nickel position, and had a big game. He created some pressure. He obviously had a fumble recovery and interception. Really played pretty good. Tamarcus Simpson, stepped in at strong safety then, and he and Will Jones did a nice job there. I thought Tamarcus, made some big plays. He caused a fumble. He had a big tackle for loss on the play before Curry's interception. Mackay was his usual steady self, and Ray played well. It was great to see him get his feet wet. And at corner, that's the type of person TJ is, an unselfish guy, whatever's best for the team, coach type mentality. And, last week with the circumstances as they were, he went out and played corner, and he and AB did a pretty good job against the group receivers that are actually, pretty good group. I thought TJ graded out real high, and AB did as well, and did a good job manning the perimeter.
Lanny?
So not only does their quarterback know how to run, but all their receivers are also super deadly on the field. And no matter where he passes it, he's going to be able to have that backup on the receiver end. How do you eliminate his possibilities of where he can throw on the field?
Honestly, I have to be honest, I didn't really hear your question. It kind of came across kind of scruffy. If you could repeat it, please.
Do you hear me better now?
It's about the same, but I hear you a little bit. Yeah, go ahead. I know you asked about the receivers, and Shorter. Shorter was one of the top recruits in the country. Went to Penn State for one reason or another. It didn't work out, and ended up at Florida. They got some great speed, but they have the unique size and speed out there. Football is a game of confidence. If we can't see that after 2 weeks, the first game of the year, they're rocking and rolling. They're on time. They're playing well against Utah. And then this past week, they played a really good Kentucky team, and Kentucky, kind of had their number, and it didn't work out as well. But just like we did after BYU, they went back. They've got great coaches. They've got really good players. I'm sure they this week are rallying and saying this is what we need to do. And I think that, they're, I think they feel like they want to make sure they don't turn the ball over, and then what they do is they run, and then off that have some play actions and take some shots. And to your point, I think their receivers are very good, very, very good. They all run well. They run good routes. They're fast. They're long striders. They're kind of like greyhounds. They're really long and athletic, and they catch the ball well. And they also block really well. There's not very many coaches in this profession that I have higher respect for than Coach Napier. Having competed against him whenever I was at Mississippi State and he was at Louisiana. And he'll always have his group prepared. He and Coach Sale, find unique ways to run the football, create, mismatches with formations, and create, uncomfortableness with formations. And I'm quite sure that that's what they're going to do again to us. And it's going to be a great challenge, whether it's our D-line versus their O-line, our linebackers versus their run backs and tight ends, or our secondary versus the quarterbacks and wide receivers. And really stopping a guy like Richardson is going to be an entire team effort.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Leo?
Coach, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Coach Trickett. If it's 21,
I heard your question to him. Go ahead. You can
if
ask
it's 21-17 at halftime, I don't care who's got the lead. That's advantage South Florida, isn't it?
I didn't hear that question. Well, like I said, I grew up through the FCS ranks, and I heard you ask him something about the clock too, or holding on, milking the clock and things like that. There's always a way to win is how I'd answer the question. The best team doesn't always win. Let me rephrase that. The more talented team doesn't always win on Saturday. We saw numerous examples of that last weekend, with Marshall going to Notre Dame and winning, with Appalachian State going to Texas A&M and winning. It happens every weekend in college football. These are kids, and the keys to the game are preparing during the course of the week, and then what has to happen certainly is we're going to win the game. We're going to have to play at a very high level. We're not going to be able to have mistakes where we're not aligned, where we're out of our gaps, we have missed assignments, we have missed tackles. We can't do those things and expect to win. And I've been, as I said, I was an FCS coach. I've coached and beaten Virginia. I've coached when we were at Vanderbilt. We usually had lesser talent maybe than the other teams, but we won a lot of those games because you don't have to win a 3-game series. You don't have to win a 5-game series. You just have to be the better team that night, one play at a time, 6 seconds at a time, and then rinse and repeat. And there's always a way to win. There's always a way to win, and there's always a strategic way to win, and there's always an effort way to win. And if our guys, our aim is to go up and win the game. So to answer your question, 17-21 at the half, is still a ball game. I'll take that against every team from now on in. I know we're in the game, and I know that we're going to step up and play really well in the second half like we did against Howard. But we're going up there to compete, and we're going up there to play our best. And the object they keep score for a reason is to go win the game. I mean, I'm not a big believer in moral victories. I do want to see us play the best version of ourselves. And if we do that, I certainly will take whatever the result is. But I'm really excited about this opportunity, and I hope our student athletes are excited about this opportunity about going up there and competing against a really good team and focusing on winning the game. And I think what happens sometimes when you go to these games, you spend the first 5 or 10 minutes looking around the stadium and hearing the noises, and it's an environment maybe that you're not used to. And all of a sudden it's 14-0, and you go, holy crap, we can play with these guys. What are we doing? And if you can just get past that and you can lock in, you can focus right from the very beginning, and you come out and your senses are keen, you're on point, your pad level's where it needs to be, you're playing with great fundamentals. Momentum's a really, really, really strong thing in college athletics. There's no question about that.
Coach, my final question. Is this the game you got to make Florida use 8, 9, 10 plays, no splash plays? And not only does it eat the clock, but also it gets your offense some rest too, doesn't it?
Well, it depends what happens at the end of those 8, 9, 10 plays. There's explosive drives, which I call touchdown drives that are 10 yards or more per play. And then there's methodical drives, which are drives that are 10 or more plays. And, I suppose in a game like this, you'd like to, let me put it this way. We don't want to give up explosive plays. I think we learned, if there's two things that we need, if there's a thing we need to really, really work on, BYU and Howard, we gave up too many explosive runs and explosive passes. Against BYU, they were what I term catastrophic runs and passes. Against Howard, they weren't necessarily catastrophic, but they definitely were, there were definitely enough runs more than 12 yards and passes more than 15 that it caught my attention and our players' attention that we really need to focus and work on that. And when you have a team, you have a quarterback like Richardson, when you have running backs like they do and receivers like they do, yeah, to your point, they're certainly a threat to, they're a threat to make an explosive play on any situation. But we're going to play to our style of play. We're not going to play on our heels. We're going to be aggressive and like I said, play to our style of play and hopefully play the very, very best version of our style of play.
KJ Garrett.
Hey, good morning, Coach. A couple questions. You touched on Richardson's ability and all the things he can do, but what are some of those things that you and the defense can do to make him uncomfortable? Coach Napier, I think, does a really good job with his quarterbacks, and he designs schemes and offenses around the strengths of that individual. So the strengths of this individual are that he looks like LeBron James, and he can run like a halfback and throw the ball further and harder than anybody in the state of Florida probably. So that's what he does well. I think they do a lot of things where they give him formations and simple reads and things like that, and they try to do things where the coaches are calling the play from the sideline, those fake counts, and then he looks to the sideline. I'm sure the coach gets him in the right plays and things like that. So giving him different looks on early downs is one thing, because I think that's the coaches. But on third down, like I said, I mean, he make him be a quarterback, perhaps. Don't allow him to escape the pocket, because he's liable if you're in some type of coverage or people. In the Utah game was a prime example. Utah was chasing receivers all over the field. He cut back against the grain and ran 60 yards for a touchdown. Kentucky did a good job spying him, not letting him use his feet on third down to get first downs, being balanced with your pass rush, having good rush lane integrity, having sets of eyes on the quarterback, just things along those lines, so that, if something happens, you do happen to have pretty good coverage and whatnot, that you're not, out of position. So when he does scramble, you can minimize the damage. Yes, sir. And then I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at, watch any film from last year's game versus Florida, but and you talked about confidence. Who's preaching the most about confidence and that we can hang with these guys that played in the game last year? And what are you instilling? I'm sure you don't have to instill much, but just giving them that further push to that. USF did win the game in the second half, 17-7.
Yeah, I mean, and that is true. And Matt Hill and I were talking about that again today too. I mean, we all know, you could do a lot of things with numbers, all that stuff. I mean, I can give you after the first quarter, we hung in there with BYU. It was 22-20, but I mean, the first quarter was a disaster. I mean, football, there's so many things that happen like that in football. I talked about the explosive plays. You as defensive coordinators, sometimes you seek comfort. You say, hey man, we played pretty good except for those 10 explosive plays. Well, I mean, you just can't take those 10 explosive plays out. You can't take the first quarter out. Now, having said that, we always talk about starting fast. We want a 3-and-out first series, and we want a first quarter shutout. So, as I said before, this is going to be an environment that's a little bit different than some of the other environments for some of our players. So it's important our players don't get caught spectating for the first 5-10 minutes. They get themselves out there. They know that we're not the homecoming, a lamb. We're out there. We're in a competitive battle against a team that we're excited to compete against. And I'm very, very confident that if we play to the best version of ourselves, that's really all I can ask of the guys. If they go out and do that, I think we have a good game plan. I think we have good players, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens if we're able to do that thing. I mean, but again, Coach Napier is a great coach. They have really good players on offense. It's going to be a great environment. And I know our players are just super excited to go out there on Saturday night at 7:30 and kick off the ball.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you all for joining us today. We're back at 11:30 tomorrow.